giving honor to the priest of this house, pastor, and all the fathers of the house. I just want to say Happy Father's Day. I'm going to speak on the Father's provision. Now, we know that God is our Father, and He has so much provision for us. He just took His time, and He was so careful to make all the provision that we need. And I'm just, I want to just address this to the fathers because, we're always telling the fathers, be sure you make provision for your children. But I want to tie it in with how God makes provision for us, and I want the fathers to use that as an example, how God makes provision for them. They too need to make the provision for their seed, meaning children, and you all know the seed. And God has really been dealing with me regarding the seed and preserving the seed. I have 4 boys. I have an older son. I was a single parent for about 8 years before I married my husband. And my husband and I, we have 3 boys. And I asked God, I said, God, why all boys? And there was a question in my mind, why all boys, Lord? I don't envy those who have girls anymore because I see what they have to go through. So I thank God for my boys. But God answered me. He says, that's because I need more good men. You need more good men. And when He told me that, I felt so blessed that He chose me as a vessel to bring forth boys that He needs so much, that is so much required in His kingdom. He needs good men, He said. And so I am just so thrilled that I can just be a part of that. Just a small part, because I was a vessel. And before a woman conceives, she is an empty vessel. And that is only in the natural. She's an empty vessel. And the father seed has so much significance. I'm not going to give you an anatomy course, but we all know that the father's sperm is the one that determines the sex of the child. That is how important God saw fit to use the father's seed to be the one that determined the sex of the child. And so I just want to respect the father's behalf in all of this, because if it wasn't for the seed of the father, that is what makes it all happen. And so, fathers, I just want you to just know how important your seed is. And God preserved that seed, because when He planted it in the woman's womb, He made extra careful that everything in that internal environment will preserve that seed until that seed grows. It becomes a baby, and then the birthing process, and then we have our children. So we need, just as God had made all the provision required to preserve you, because men are God's seed. Amen. Every man is God's seed. He, just as He took care, extra care to preserve you, then I want you to just look at that as an example to take extra careful to preserve your seed. And God, so He made every provision that was needed to preserve that seed. And sometimes external forces come and try to uproot what God plants in a woman's womb, I'm referring to, and try to abort the plan of God. But I want to give you a scripture, Jeremiah 1 verse 12. You can all turn to Jeremiah. I don't have my Bible, but if you just look at it, it's basically saying God will hasten His word to perform it. That means He makes sure that His word is performed to His glory. So even though external forces come against the seed, God, His word performs it. He makes sure that His word will hasten to perform it. And our children is our seed. And, even more important, I said that men are God's seed. And you have to make extra careful to preserve your seed. I like gardening. And sometimes my seeds come through the dirt, sometimes they don't. But sometimes I plant a seed and I forget all about it. And a couple of more weeks I'm saying, oh yeah, I planted something here. And I don't see it coming up. Why? Because I didn't take any precaution to preserve that seed. I didn't water it, I didn't do anything. I just left it. And just as God made provision to protect you need to make provision to protect your seed. You also have to lift up the bloodstained banner and take authority in your homes, in your jobs, wherever your feet tread. You have to make every provision necessary to protect that seed, because we're not just talking about physical protection, just protecting that seed, like I didn't do to the plant. But we have to be in right standing with God. And you may ask yourself, why she's talking about right standing with God and protecting the seed. That's because there's a scripture in the Bible that says, the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. The seed of the righteous shall be delivered. So you want to make sure that you're in right standing with God. And another scripture says, the prayer of a righteous man availeth much. We have to pray over our children. And every father is the priesthood. They're the priests of their home. So they are the one that need to be interceding for their children. They have to be the one that in right standing with God, because if you're a priest, you're in right standing with God. And then the priest can go. Pastor a couple of weeks ago was talking about the Old Testament and the tabernacle. And the priests have to be in right standing with God, or he would be struck down, pretty much. And so the people came to the priest, and the priest interceded for them. And that is how fathers should be. Fathers should be interceding for their kids. They should be going before God in prayer, interceding. They should be the head of the household in more ways than one. And one of the ways is spiritual.